Okay, so part 4. The bad you are unaware of. The bad you are not conscious of. The bad that is invisible. Boy, you want to talk about the root cause of your problems? It's probably right here. You probably have more items in this category than you probably didn't even think were possible. And some of these are probably the root causes of your current situation. So like I said, let's pull this back. The bad you're not aware of. So let's go back to the alcohol. So you're clearing off a case a day and you don't see a problem with that. You're shooting up with, you're shooting up every day with something and you don't see a problem with that. Or, you're going 18 hours a day playing video games, not going to work, not going to school, and you don't see a problem with that. Or it could be something a lot more subtle. It could just be like an unconscious habit you have. It could be, you got a real bad time with self talk. You got a real bad time with self esteem. It could be you got a real bad time giving yourself some slack. You got a real bad time giving yourself some credit. Okay? If you don't know those things exist in the first place, how can you fix them? That's part 1. Part 2. If you don't know they're bad, how can you fix them? All right, so there's 2 parts to that equation. Number 1, you got to know it exists. Number 2, you got to know it's a problem. Okay? So forget everything else I just told you about. Forget all the rest of this. If you don't know it exists in the first place, how can you correct it? If you don't know you're doing it, how can you correct it? If you don't know that there's water coming in through the roof, how can you patch the roof? If you don't know that your toilet's messed up or whatever the case may be, or if you don't know you got a leak somewhere, how can you fix it? And then number 2, if you don't know it's a problem in the first place, so you got to know, number 1, that it's happening, and you got to know that it's a problem. So you, as a human being that is getting better as every day goes by, you've got to pull out the problems that you don't know exist. Because what's going to happen then is you're going to say, wow, I've been acting that way this whole time and I didn't even know it. Or, when that person says that, that brings back all these memories I had back when I was a kid. And I didn't even know that that was the root cause. I didn't even know it was a problem in the first place. I thought I was just acting normal. So you've got to pull it out. It's the bad you're not aware of. Remember, we said there's 4 parts. The good you're aware of, the bad you're aware of, the good you're not aware of, the bad you're not aware of. This is the last one, the bad you're not aware of. Number 1, you've got to pull it up. You got to pull it out. You got to get it out of the back, and you got to get it to the front of the house with plenty of light, plenty of windows, plenty of tables. You got to get it out the back and off to the front. Okay? You've got to pull it out. And then you can say, oh, okay, I see this item is in front of me. Now I need to decide if it's good or bad. And if you've decided that it's bad, then wow, really? I was doing that this whole time? Yeah, you were. I know you didn't know it was a problem at the time. I get that. I learn every day about myself too. But at the same time, once you're conscious of it, then you got to start working on it. So you might have a situation where, just coming back from maybe your childhood, maybe every day you wore a red hat, you got picked on, or whatever the case may be, right? Purely coincidental you were wearing a red hat, believe it or not. But Subconsciously, you got that framework in your head that said every time I wear a red hat, I get bullied. Well, it just so happened that every day you wore a red hat was, the neighbor kid got beat by his old man the night before, so he took it out on you. But number one, you've got to see, and so maybe there's like an irrational fear of red hats. That's a bad example, but my point is that, or maybe you're cutting people off when you're talking, right? Or maybe you're not. Maybe you're not keeping your appointments. Maybe you tell people are going to be there at 3:45 and you're showing up at 4:15. Like, hey, buddy, come on, what's going on? You couldn't text me? Oh, well, it should be a big deal. It's like, well, listen, man, your time ain't more important than mine. We agreed to meet here at 3:45. It's 4:15, and I didn't hear shit from you. So next time, how about you text me? Now, that's what I'm saying is like you don't even know that's a problem in the first place. You just assume that everyone just should just understand that there's a window involved, right? So what I'm getting at is that a lot of your root causes to the honest to goodness problems in your life, you might not be conscious of them. You might not be conscious of them. And that's why you're never really able to get any headway because you don't know really where they're stemming from. Okay? So, like I said, framework is you got a big old house with 2 rooms. The room in the front has plenty of light, plenty of windows, plenty of tables, plenty of file cabinets. You've got everything categorized already between good and bad up there. It's the good that you own and you accept. It's the bad you own and accept, and you're working on the bad. You're managing it. But there's a second room in the back of the house, completely dark, completely unorganized. There's no tables, there's no lights, there's no nothing. It's just a big pile of something back there. You've got to pull as much of that room as you can out into the light, and then you can honestly evaluate it to say, is this good or is this bad? So that's where we're at. Is you're trying to pull as much of it out into the light as possible. And when I say into the light, I am absolutely not talking about a spiritual metaphorical situation here. I am simply talking about there's physical light so that I can physically look at it and I can decide what it is. Okay? So, when it comes to the bad you're unaware of, this is where a lot of your problems are honestly probably stemming from. This is the root cause of a lot of your problems. And this is going to be a challenge to pull it out and to look at it. You're probably going to get really upset when you probably first realize that I've had this happen in the whole time and I wasn't aware of it. Yeah, you were. You were doing it the whole time. Yeah, it's understandable you'd be upset. I'd be upset. I was upset when I found out what was pissing me off. But guess what? Once I knew it was pissing me off, then I could take steps to have it not piss me off. That's an improvement. So that's the end goal of this situation here is that what you've done is that you've taken all the bad that was hiding in the back, you put it front and center, and you've got it filed away, and you're saying, you know what? This is an aspect of myself I wasn't aware of, but I've got to manage this. And, from that situation, once you're aware of what's going on within yourself, then what's to stop you from, getting where you want to get to in life? What's going to stop you from achieving your goals? And I, guys, like I really mean that now, and we're going to tie this into the second video here. But if you fully understand and you fully integrate exactly who you are, what you're capable of, what your limitations are, what your challenges are, if you fully have a 360 awareness about that, about yourself, how can you not achieve your goals? Seriously. And I'm not talking about winning the lottery. I'm talking about some honest to goodness growth and development here. How can you not achieve that? If you truly, honestly own and accept every facet of yourself, how can you not achieve your goals? There's nothing stopping you at that point. There's nothing holding you back. There's nothing getting in your way. Yeah, it might not be physically possible. Okay, good. Adjust your goals then. But it's not going to turn into this whole, well, I don't know what I was thinking or I don't know what I was doing. No, I know exactly what I was doing. I know exactly what I was thinking, and I'm moving towards my goals now because I've been able to refine myself. I've been able to refine my goals. I've been able to refine the process that I use to track towards getting to my goals. Okay? So that's the whole end point about this whole situation is we are getting as much of ourselves to the front of the house so that it can be labeled and it can be managed and harnessed effectively. So, step 1 is the good you're aware of. Step 2 is the bad you're aware of, the bad you're managing. Step 3 is the good you're unaware of. And then step 4 is the bad that you're unaware of, the bad that you need to start managing. So what ends up happening is that when you've pulled everything out of the back and you've got everything to the front of the house and you've got everything categorized and organized, and then you're aware of yourself completely. Now the back of the house, there's almost nothing back there. Yeah, you know what? Something might spontaneously grow back there. I'm not saying it can't, okay? The human mind is a very complex mechanism. There could have been something growing back there all these years, but it didn't sprout until 20 years after the fact. Or maybe you just weren't in a position to deal with it at the time. Maybe you couldn't pull it out. Maybe it was too heavy. I'm not saying that room is ever going to get empty, but the idea is we want that back room, we want that to be as empty as possible. And we want as much into the front of the house where it's categorized and organized and harnessed and managed effectively. So like I said, just imagine you got 4 squares. So you just got 4 squares. You got the good you're aware of, the bad you're aware of, the good you're unaware of, the bad you're unaware of. So you just got 4 squares. I know I got 4 fingers. The idea is that we want those unaware items to be as small as possible, to be as minimized as possible. We want those 2 unaware squares to be pushed up into the present squares, into the visible squares. So that's how that goes. All right, guys, I will see you for the wrap up here.